doing here?
Hello, everyone. Welcome to episode 1 of Under the Spotlight, where we take a look at some retro games and discuss whether or not they're worth your time playing and worth your time collecting. Because let's be honest, collecting is fun, but sometimes you make bad choices. I don't know, maybe I can help that a wee little bit. On today's episode, Legend of Zelda: Oracle of Ages. Fitting that the inaugural episode is Legend of Zelda because it's one of my favorite gaming franchises ever, honestly. I feel like there isn't really a Legend of Zelda game that I've played and haven't enjoyed. And to be honest, Oracle of Ages absolutely cooks.
Tofu, I've never been a big fan of. Up until now, the broth is delicious.
This game is phenomenal. Just as a heads up, I am going to synonymously discuss Oracle of Ages and Seasons, given they were released together. I just don't happen to have a copy of Seasons yet, so I feel in the meantime, it just makes sense to discuss them as one. Released in May 2001 in North America, Legend of Zelda Oracles achieved significant success. They absolutely smashed sales charts, selling a combined near 4 million copies. Now, of course, you could say this is cheating the system a little bit.
Get cheaters!
Because it's technically 2 games, but we're just going to take that little thought, we're just going to crumple them up. We're just going to... and just...
Fuck out of here, boy. Get that weak shit out of here. Stuff occurred by.
To this day, these 2 entries are regarded as some of the greatest Legend of Zelda games of all time. For some, they may even appear on their must-own list of Game Boy games in general. But is it really worth your time? Should it take up space in your collection? Let's talk about it. Now, in Oracle of Ages, a new evil has revealed itself, and Link must channel his inner Michael J. Fox and travel through time, visiting present and past Labrynna in order to save it. Who'd have thought? Not Hyrule this time, which honestly was actually kind of nice. It was nice to be in a land with its own identity and its own personality. The game is simple enough to appeal to younger audiences, but it's honestly robust enough to grip more seasoned gamers or somebody looking for a challenge. You do only get 2 action buttons, and on paper that sounds kind of comical, but I mean, that was the Game Boy, that was how things were at the time, and honestly, in practice, this works actually quite well. I will be honest, it does have you popping in and out of game menus fairly frequently, which does kind of suck, and if you're having trouble with puzzles or just some enemies are annoying you, that can get frustrating, the monotonous task of having to pop in and out. But I'll be honest, it never really felt like the game had you at a disadvantage or your experience was disrupted enough to care. Once you get used to the game's inventory sorting system, you actually get kind of quick with it, so you kind of feel like a bit of a madman, swapping through items at the speed of light.
領域展開無料空所
It does actually get fairly easy to manage and wasn't a problem whatsoever. And I can say for the story, it is absolutely phenomenal. It had me wanting to play my Game Boy over other games, which is honestly rare. Even when I was growing up, it was fairly hard for something on a handheld to narratively grip me, and it was kind of nice to experience that. I don't want to discuss the story too much, but I can say it achieves what it set out to do, and it's actually quite good. I enjoyed it. And when it comes to visuals and performance, there are a few frame drops here and there, but honestly, I don't really consider that an issue, because while this game isn't graphically demanding or impressive by modern means especially, it has a level of charm and complexity that you can only get out of pixel art. And the artists did an amazing job with this game.
Perfection.
I truly have no complaints. Even at times when the game was getting a little bit frustrating, certain puzzles were bothering me, because I will admit the puzzles are fairly challenging, especially in Ages specifically. I still wanted to hop on and play a little bit because certain areas are just fun to walk around and look at. Even though it's just a Game Boy, this game looks incredible. Now, when it comes to experiencing this game, do I think it's worth it? Absolutely. But do I think it's worth your time getting a physical copy of this game and playing on authentic hardware? That's honestly a hard one. Yes and no. I can say that the Game Boy does have its benefits when you are playing on native hardware, because obviously the game was designed to be played on a Game Boy. But that does, of course, come with perks and punishments. It's honestly a bit of a punishment for yourself to play this game on a Game Boy Color. If you are able to get a hold of a Game Boy Advance SP, preferably the AGS 101 model, I do have to say that is the recommended way to play. Understandably, not everybody can just hop over to a retro game store and pick up a copy. This will put a little bit of a dent in the wallet. Now, of course, I do recommend grabbing this game within a certain price range. Because of the sudden surge in popularity for retro games, there are a lot of listings that you will see online, especially places like eBay or used game markets, that are significantly overpriced. I honestly do not think these games are worth picking up for anything more than around $70 Canadian, 50 American. In this instance, I can't say at the time, this is a game to collect for everybody. It does have its value, and I am thrilled that I have it in my collection, but unless you're a big Legend of Zelda fan, or you just really enjoy good Game Boy RPGs, if you have access to a Nintendo Switch, I would recommend that over going out and picking up a physical copy of these games and playing them authentically. But unless you have easy access to Oracle of Ages and Seasons, and if you don't mind spending $160, I recommend the Nintendo Switch Online service. If $160 isn't too much of an issue, and you're thinking to yourself, should I pick up these games physically? If you're able to get a hold of these games, 100% I recommend it. There definitely is a lot of value to owning these games physically. Just a nice piece of history to have, let alone a piece of Legend of Zelda history. These games, along with my all-time favorite, the Minish Cap, has solidified me as a Capcom Legend of Zelda die-hard fan. In conclusion, if you were wondering whether or not this game is worth experiencing, I absolutely do recommend it. Is it worth collecting? If you don't mind spending $160. I want to thank you guys for stopping by. This has been episode 1 of Under the Spotlight, where we take a look at some retro games and see whether or not they're worth playing and whether or not they're worth your time collecting. My name's Josiah, and hey man, until next time.